Good morning. Welcome. My name is Lanita. I'm the Scrappy Grandma. And this is my Torah portion playlist where I read the weekly Torah portions. And this week we are starting a new book, which is super exciting. We're starting the book of Deuteronomy, the last book in the portion. And Deuteronomy is kind of like it's, sorry, very needy kitty. Cuddly. Anyway, Deuteronomy is kind of like it wraps up all of the Torah. It's called the mini Torah because it wraps up all the Torah in one book. So we're kind of gonna be going through everything we've just gone through in the last four books in a condensed version. So it's super cool. This is also what's called a Shabbat Chazon. Oh, sorry. You gotta go. And so what that means, I had to look it up. So Shabbat Chazon is literally called the Shabbat of Vision. And it's the Shabbat it's the Shabbat that immediately precedes Tish B'Av. And Tish B'Av is something I went over in my new moon recording. Hold on, I'm gonna pause. All right, so it is the Shabbat that immediately precedes Tish B'Av, which I spoke about in the new moon recording the other day. And so these are Jewish traditions, so take it with a grain of salt. How I look at Jewish traditions, sorry, make sure I'm working here. How I look at the Jewish traditions, honestly, is they're not gospel, but they're beautiful because I want to learn about his ways. They're beautiful guideposts. They're beautiful remembrances. And so this is it's a Jewish fast day that's commemorating the destruction of the first and second temple in Jerusalem. So it goes right along with the 3 weeks, the narrow straits that we're going through right now, where we're spending time, you know, laying ourselves bare honestly before the Father and saying, have your way and show me where there's anything in me that's not of you so that I can move, repent and get that out of me. And so it all is it's beautiful how it all is coming together. So the spiritual significance is named after the Haftarah reading of Isaiah 1, 1 through 27, which is what we're going to be going over, which begins with the words Hazan Yeshayahu, the vision of Isaiah. This prophetic passage rebukes the people of Judah and Jerusalem for moral and spiritual failings, warning of impending destruction if they do not repent. Themes of the day: rebuke and reflection. The tone is somber. So this is for this coming Shabbat. Let me see what date. So the second. So this will be for the Shabbat on the 2nd of August. And so the tone is somber, aligning with the 3 weeks of mourning. See, there we go. The narrow straits, leading up to Tish B'Av. Hidden hope. Hasidic tradition. Now, this is, like I said, take it with a grain of salt. I don't follow these things as gospel that they have to be done. I learn about these things to have a more Hebrew mindset of what um, you know what the Hebrew people or the Jewish people follow, and what a lot of what our Messiah did. Now, the Hasidic tradition teaches that on this Shabbat, every soul is granted a glimpse of the third temple, a vision of future redemption, even if not with physical eyes. Okay, we believers of Messiah know that the third temple is where the Antichrist is going. So anyway, liturgical nuances. Some communities chant parts of the Torah and Haftarah reading in a mournful melody of Icha, lamentations, emphasizing the gravity of the moment. And in the new moon, which is the 25th of this month. I'm recording ahead of time. Tomorrow or today. Yes, that's what I'm doing. The new moon call day today at sundown. So for the Shabbat tomorrow, we are to read Lamentations. So this year's date in 2025, Shabbat Chazon begins at sundown on Friday, August 1st, and ends on nightfall on Saturday, August 2nd, just before Tisha B'Av. If you're exploring prophetic milestones, this Shabbat is rich with symbolism, both warnings and promises. So there is, that's about Shabbat Chazon. Sorry, you probably don't know because I've been having to pause. All kinds of drama going on with the grands right now, getting ready to go on a lake day, trying to get things ready. So anyway, apologize. Okay, so this week's portion is called Devarim, which is Deuteronomy, and it means words. And it's Deuteronomy 1:1 through 3:22. And the Haftarah is Isaiah 1:1 through 27. And the Haftarah is, so, and I really, you know what? Needed to get my notebook. I need to look this up, but I'm pretty sure how the story, what it is when the 10 northern tribes are gone, they're already dispersed, or, they've been gone for a while. And it's Judah, and some Benjamites and some Levites that are left in the southern tribes. And Greece came in, and Greece has occupied this area, and they made it illegal for the Yahudim, the Judah, to study the Torah. And so, and the Torah is used for teaching the generations, to continue on so that they retain Yah's words. And so what they did is, since they couldn't have the first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah, since they couldn't read those, they started taking the books of the prophets and the books of wisdom and teaching out of those things that would remind them, would be the same teaching as if had they been able to read the Torah. They use the Haftarah to do the teaching so that they can continue to teach their children and their children's children how Yah has, wants to be served. So the Haftarah is Isaiah 1:1 through 27. And I'm going to look up, research the Haftarah and the Brit Hadashah. I do not know the history at all about the Brit Hadashah, and what that is it's the Gospels and the letters that correlate and relate to the Torah also, and that is Matthew 24:1 through 22. So let's get started with prayer. First off, Father Yah, let's settle in before you, my King. Put ourselves in a position of receiving from you. Father, I ask that nothing comes out of my mouth that is not ordained by you to go out and to spur on and encourage others to fall in love with your written word, the living word, your Torah, that all points to our Messiah, Yeshua. Father Yah, quiet our hearts and put us in a position of being able to study your word and then implement it into our lives. Thank you so much for giving us these instructions, my King. In Yeshua's mighty name. Amen. Okay. So I'm going to start with reading from a commentary. It kind of sets the stage. Am I recording? I am recording. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to read from a commentary that helps to set the stage on what's going on, because from our modern, Christian mindset, sometimes it's really hard to understand what's going on with what we read in the Bible. So last week's Parsha portion, in last week's Parsha, okay, hold on, I'm in the wrong spot, jumped ahead too far. There we go, Devarim. Okay. In the final book of the Torah, Moses calls Devarim, which means words, which come from a phrase, Elah ha-Devarim. These are the words. In our English Bibles, Devarim is known as Deuteronomy, a Greek word which means repetition of the Torah, derived from the Hebrew phrase Mishnah ha-Torah, Deuteronomy 17:18. The book of Devarim has 34 chapters divided into 11 weekly Torah readings. The first Torah portion of the book is named after the book itself and is called Parshat Devarim, which begins, "These are the words that Moshe spoke to Israel." Devarim 1:1. General introduction. The book opens 37 days before Moses was to die, namely during the 40th year since the Exodus from Egypt. So it gives you a time frame. See, that's why I love this, because it's like, oh, okay, they've been wandering for 40 years. That generation has now died off, and Joshua and Caleb are now getting ready to take everyone, all this new generation into the promised land. And Moses is letting them know everything that he has left to let them know before he goes and dies, so that they can now enter the promised land. So it's the 40th year since the Exodus from Egypt, on the first day of the 11th month of Shabbat. Which one's Shabbat? Shabbat is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11th month. Shabbat. So on the first day of the 11th month of Shabbat, as such, the book has the overall tone of a farewell discourse from Moses to the children of Israel. In fact, unlike the previous 4 books of the Torah, the speaker in Deuteronomy is Moses himself, and even the recounting of the various laws and ordinances are recorded as part of the addresses he gave. Note that some commentators believe that Deuteronomy is actually a compilation of discourses that Moses gave while the Israelites were in the wilderness, since Deuteronomy 1:1 can be read as on the other side of the Jordan through the wilderness, that is, while the Israelites wandered in the wilderness. The Parsha, the book, opens with the Israelites in the land of Moab, just east of the Jordan River, shortly before they would enter the promised land. Since Moses was disallowed entrance to the promised land, his first discourse was concerning making plain the Torah to the people, the instructions. Sorry. Sometimes. Okay. Okay. So, okay. So this is making plain the Torah to the people so that they would clearly recall Yah's instructions once they took possession of the land. This is why we are continuously to have this before us. Just like in last week's Porsche, when we're waking up, when we're walking about the way, as we're going, I spent the day with my oldest grandson. He's 9, going on 10, loves the word, loves Yah, loves to have conversation with me about all of that. And and I shared with him how just in last week's portion it says we're supposed to have it ever before us. We're supposed to bind it around our hand, which is what we do, everything we do. And between our eyes, our forehead is what we think and what we see. And we are supposed to be talking about the Torah when we wake up, when we're walking in the way, when we lay down. It's supposed to be our main focus. And if we make it our main focus, then life goes well with us and we walk in blessing and in favor. And so this is I love Deuteronomy because it just sums it all up. So since Deuteronomy can be read on the other side, okay, so the Parsha, blah, blah, Moses was disallowed the entrance. Okay, so he's making plain the Torah to the people so that they would clearly recall Yah's instructions once they took possession of the land. And he's gone. He's not there anymore. He's like, okay, I'm leaving. We've got to give you these instructions so that you remember and do. Shema, hear and obey. Moses begins his discourse by reviewing the events that occurred in the course of their 40-year journey from Egypt to Sinai, and then from Sinai to the land of Moab. The intentions of this review is to be a sort of prologue to the entire book leading up to the laws he repeats in chapter 4 through 28. An abbreviated outline of this parsha is given here. 1, leaving Deuteronomy 1, 1 through 8. Appointing the leaders, Deuteronomy 1, 9 through 18. The sins of the spies and the rebellion at Kadesh Barnea, Deuteronomy 1, 19 through 33. The penalty of Israel's disbelief, Deuteronomy 1, 34 through 46. The wilderness years, Deuteronomy 2, 1 through 23. The defeat of Sihon, Deuteronomy 2, 24 through 37. The defeat of Og, Deuteronomy 3, 1 through 11. The allotment for the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the half of Manasseh, the ones that stay on the eastern side of the Jordan, Deuteronomy 3, 12 through 20. And the message delivered to his successor, Joshua, who was charged with leading the Israelite in the conquest of the promised land. So it has been noted that the structure and form of the book resembles an ancient Middle East covenant treaty between a sovereign king and his vassals, with a preamble, a historical prologue, conventional obligations, blessings and cursings, and a concluding section. Yah, the sovereign, would be the king of the land, and he was giving to the Israelites, and they in turn were to love and obey him as his vassals. Moshe begins his speech. I have a note in here, says words of reproof. According to the sages of the Mishnah, so once again, this is Jewish tradition. Take with it a grain of salt. This is what their thoughts are. The numerous names of the places listed in verse 1 are not landmarks or geographical locations, but rather words of reproof by Moses, to the people of Israel. That is, instead of detailing their sins outright, he alluded to them with code words. That makes complete sense. So in the desert, the time they complained, if only they would have died in the desert, also, and an allusion to the 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. In the plain, their most recent sin with the Moabite women and Baal Peor in the plains of Moab, Numbers 25. Opposite serve the complaint of Israel at the shores of the Red Seas at the start of Exodus. Paran, the sin of spies, who was dispatched from Paran, Numbers 13. Tefel and Laban, Libel and White, they're libelling the manna. Hazrat, where Korah's mutiny against Moshe took place. De Zahav, too much gold, the fateful sin of the golden calf. According to Midrash, Moses' speech was heard literally by all of Israel, meaning that all 600,000 people heard the message as if it were spoken directly to each one of them. After the book's preamble, 1 through 5, Moses reminds the people that Yah had said, "You have stayed long enough at this mountain," referring to from a root word desolate. And therefore, Yah commanded them to get on with the journey to possess the promised land. But Moshe was overwhelmed since the people had multiplied in fulfillment of Yah's promise to Abraham. Moses certainly wasn't complaining at the increase of Israel, and he even interjected the following blessing: "May Yah bless you May Yah, the Elohim of your fathers, increase your numbers 1,000-fold and bless you as he promised you. Deuteronomy 1:11. This blessing harkens back to the promise made to Abraham, to whom Yah promised that his descendants would be as innumerable as the stars in the heavens, the grains of the sea on the seashore, and the dust of the earth. Genesis 15:5, 22:17, and 28:14, respectively. Though it is not stated in this parsha, Moshe received counsel of his Midianite father-in-law, Yethro, Raul, he's got a couple of different names, to appoint judges for Israel to help him lead the people. These leaders were to be wise and discerning, consecrated to judge various disputes righteously. They were not to be respecters of persons, but impartial in their judgments, hearing the small and the great alike. Most importantly, they were not to be intimidated by men, since the truth of judgment is from Yahweh. Yah. Kadesh Barneam and the sins of the spies. Moses recounted the 2 years after leaving Sinai that the Israelites were poised to enter the promised land. However, they became fearful of the prospect of battling the 7 Canaanite nations living there and insisted that spies be sent ahead to, I don't know that word, recon something, recon the land. It's kind of reconnoiter. Anyway, and Yah acquiesced to the people and demanded, and to the people's demand, and Moshe selected one righteous prince from each tribe to be sent. The tribe of Levi was exempt from this mission. And on the 9th of Av, after 40 days scouting the promised land, the spies returned to the camp of Israel at Kadesh. Instead of reporting to Moshe and to Aharon, however, the spies appealed directly to the people, warning Israel that it would be impossible for them to conquer the nations who lived there, especially since they lived in fortified cities. Only Joshua, and Caleb showed genuine faith and insisted that the land could be vanquished just as Yah had promised. Upon hearing of the evil report, the 10 spies, the people wept and murmured about their situation. They complained. And why is Yah bringing us into a land to fall by the sword? Our wives and our little ones become prey. Would it not have been better for us to go back to Egypt? And they said to one another, let us choose a leader to go back to Egypt. Numbers 14:3-4. Now Moshe fills in some gaps of the account previously given in Shalach Lecha. Then I said to you, do not be in dread or afraid of them. Yah, your Elohim, who goes before you, will himself fight for you, just as he did for you in Egypt before your eyes and in the wilderness, where you have seen how Yah, your Elohim, carried you as a man carried his son all the way that you went until you came to this place. Yet, in spite of this word, you did not believe Yah, your Elohim, who went before you in the way to seek you out, a place to pitch your tents, a fire by night and in a cloud by day, to show you what way you should go. And Yah heard your words and was angered, and he swore, not one of these men of this evil generation shall see the good land that I swore to give to your fathers, except Caleb, son of Yefunni. He shall see it, and to him and to his children I will give the land on which he has trodden. So when Caleb went and spied out with the others, the land that he looked into, Yah promised him that land as his inheritance, which is super cool. On that land he has trodden because he has wholly followed Yahweh, your Elohim. Even with me, Yah was angry on your account and said, you will also not go in there. Yehoshua, son of Nun, who also was on that spy journey, who also came back and said, yeah, we can do this. Yah promised it to us. Doesn't matter what the consequences or obstacles, it doesn't matter what the obstacles are. Yah promised us this. Let's go. And that's what should be our attitude. We don't want to oh my gosh, this is happening and my life is so awful and I'm complaining. Trust me, I go there and then I have to hold my thoughts captive and stand on truth. Yah's made promises. I'm standing on those. I'm not believing my circumstances. So, 1 Even with me, Yah was angry on your account and said, you shall not go in there. Yehoshua, son of Nun, Joshua, son of Nun, who stands before you, he shall enter. Encourage him, for he shall cause Israel to inherit it. And as for your little ones, who you said would become prey, and your children who today have no knowledge of good or evil, they shall go in there, and to them I will give it, and they shall possess it. But as for you, turn and journey into the wilderness in the direction of the Red Sea. This is when he turned them back around and said, you don't get to go. Your children will inherit it. You won't. Only after Moses intercedes for Israel did Yah relent from his anger at the people. However, the decree was made because of their unbelief. Israel's entry into the land would be delayed for no less than 40 years, a year for each day that the spies were in the land, with 2 years already served, so 38 years. During this 40-year exile, every person 20 years of age and older were fated to die in the wilderness, except for Yehoshua, Joshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Yehunneh, and the two spies who showed faith in the word of Yah. The other 10 spies were immediately killed by the plague sent by Yahweh. After hearing the judgment of Yah, a group of remorseful Israelites decided to repent by taking matters into their own hands. How often do we do that? I didn't do it right. I'm so sorry. What can I do to make it up? Okay, I'm going to go do this. If you're not called to it, don't do it. Without either the Ark of the Covenant of Yah or Moshe's leadership, they presumptuously decided to storm the mountain on the border of the land, but were summarily routed by the Amalekites and the Canaanites. The first battle for the promised land, alas, was done in the strength of the flesh and resulted in disaster for Israel. The land of promise was to be obtained by trusting. Okay, this is so perfect and so important for our lives and our walk. The land of promise, the promises that Yah has given us, is to be obtained by trusting and submitting to Yah alone for victory over the powers of darkness. It's not by flesh. We are not doing this on our own. He walks us through into victory. Moshe told them that Yah would have given them all of the land from the Mediterranean to the Euphrates without needing to engage in conventional warfare, but their unbelief tragically led to exile from the land. Psalms 95:11, Hebrews 3:11, 18, and 4:3, 5, and 11. So the wandering begins. After the disaster at Kadesh Barnea, Israel finally decamps and sets out towards Mount Seir, otherwise known as Edom, and the place where Jacob's brother Esau settled. And Yah explicitly commands Moshe not to attack the Edomites because they were given this land as their possession. In fact, there were 3 nations that bordered the promised land that the Israelites were forbidden to attack: Seir, the Edomites, descendants of Esau; Moab, the Moabites, descendants of Lot's firstborn son Moab, from whom would come Ruth, the great grandmother of King David; and Ammon, the Ammonites, the descendants of Lot's second son Ammon, from whom would come Naamah, who married King Solomon and bore his successor, King Rehoboam. According to Midrash, now Midrash is where people get together and they discuss the Torah portion. Like we have a Midrash on Thursdays where we get together with other women who are reading through the Torah portions, and we discuss what Yah is revealing to us as we're reading this week's portion. If that's something that you're interested in, contact me and I can help you get involved. It's really awesome. It is amazing to walk through life with people who are holding the Torah, the instructions of the Most High as their standard and walking with them. It's beautiful. So according to Midrash, Yah blessed the children of Lot based on Lot's merit, because unfortunately they were children of incest because they were with his daughters. Lot knew the truth when Abraham traveled to Egypt and pretended that Sarah was his sister, but kept the secret despite the risk involved. The fate of the wilderness generation. According to Midrash, Yahad, I don't know. Every year until the 40th year, on the eve of the 9th of Av, this is, I think, so bizarre and interesting, but Moshe would command the people, go out and dig, and the people would leave the camp and dig graves and sleep in them overnight. The following morning, a messenger would proclaim, let the living separate from the dead. 15,000 would die every night, or die that very night, but the survivors would return to the camp for another year. This occurred year after year, but in the 40th year, no one died. Since they thought they might have miscalculated the days, they slept in their grave an additional night. This went on for 5 nights until the 15th of Av, when they saw the full moon, realized that their calculations were correct, and rejoiced that no more of the first generation would die. So I guess that's how, every year he would let some of the first generation die off for the 40 years. The ones that were not allowed to go in because of their sin and rebellion. So they subsequently declared Tu B'Av, and that's the 15th of Av, as the day of celebration. The desert generation had finally died off, and the new generation was finally ready to enter the land. And that's coming up. That's the end of the 3 weeks, the narrow straits that start after the 15th or the 17th of Tammuz, which was just a couple weeks ago. We're about 2 weeks in now. We have one more week to go. So the wandering ends. War with Sihon and Og. For 38 years, the Israelites wandered until all the men of war who partook in the sin of the spies at Kadesh Barnea had died. Then Moshe was instructed to go to war with the Amorites. Moses sent a delegation to Sihon, king of the Amorites, asking for permission for Israel to pass through the land, but was denied. According to Midrash, Sihon was one of the Nephilim, who had somehow survived the great flood of Noah's time. Sihon arrayed his army and fought Israel at Yahaz, but was defeated, and Israel took possession of the land to the border of the Ammonites. Sihon had a half-brother named Og, who was also one of the Nephilim. When Og heard about Sihon's death, he reassembled his army to avenge his brother. Jewish Midrash states that Moses was afraid to go to war with Og because Og was believed to be over 500 years old with special powers. Moreover, Og was said to have once helped Abraham when Lot was captured and was even circumcised by Abraham himself. Interesting. Yah reassured Moses to attack Og. However, and the Midrash says that Moses himself killed Og during the battle. So Israel completely destroyed Og, his armies, and the people took possession of the land of Bashan. After these 2 climatic battles, Israel journeyed to the wastelands of Moab, poised to cross the Jordan River and capture Jericho. Reuben and Gad and the half-tribe of Manasseh. The tribes of Reuben and Gad asked permission to settle in the pasture land of Gilead, east of the Jordan, formerly the land of the Amorites, since they had large herds of cattle. And at first Moses hotly disapproved at their request, since he feared that the other tribes would lose heart if these 2 tribes stayed behind during the conquest of Canaan. However, when tribal leaders promised that they indeed intended to join the fight while their families remained in Gilead, Moses finally agreed, but charged Joshua with ensuring that they kept their promise. Otherwise, they would forfeit any claim to settle there. The Parsha ends with Moses encouraging his successor Joshua with these words: "Your eyes have seen all that the Yah, your Elohim, has done to these 2 kings. So will Yah do to all the kingdoms into which you are crossing. You shall not fear them, for it is Yah, your Elohim, who fights for you." Deuteronomy 3:21 through 22. So let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to share my screen. Maybe if I can figure it out. There we go. And I want that one. Okay. So, and I think if I put myself up here, there we go. I'm out of the way. All right. So Deuteronomy 1:1. These are the words which Moshe spoke to all Israel beyond the Yarden in the wilderness. The Yarden is the Jordan. Israel is Israel. In the desert plain opposite Suf, between Param and Tafel. and Laban, and Hatzroth, and De Zahab. 11 days' journey from Horab by way of Mount Seir to Kadesh Barnea. I need to figure out. Sorry, I paused it. It's freezing, but now I can't figure out how to get back. Away, get small. I'm sorry. Shoot. Okay, let me start over. I don't know how to do all this technical stuff. Hopefully, there we go. Okay, awesome. 11 days' journey from Horab by way of Mount Seir to Kadesh Barnea. And it came to be in the 40th year, in the 11th new moon, on the first day of the new moon, that Moshe spoke to the children of Israel according to all that Yah had commanded him concerning them. After he had stricken Sihon, sovereign of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, and Og, sovereign of Bashan, who dwelt at Asheroth in Edrei, beyond the Yarden in the land of Moab, Moshe undertook to declare this Torah instructions, saying, Our Elohim spoke to us in Horab, saying, You have dwelt long enough at this mountain. Turn and set out on your way and go into the mountains of the Amorites and to all the neighboring places in the desert plain, in the mountains and in the low country and in the Negeb and on the seacoast to the land of the Canaanites and to Lebanon as far as the great river, the river Euphrates. See, I have set the land before you. Go in and possess the land which Yah swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzchak, Isaac, and to Jacob, to give to them their seed after them, and their seed after them, leaders appointed. And I spoke to you at that time, saying, I am unable to bear you by myself. And Yah, your Elohim, has increased you, and see, you are today as numerous as the stars in the heaven. And Elohim and of your fathers is going to add to you 1,000 times more than you are, and bless you as he's spoken to you. How do I bear your pressure and your burdens and your strife by myself? Choose men, wise and understanding, and known to your tribes, and let me appoint them as your heads. And you answered me and said, The word which you have spoken to us to do is good. And I took the heads of your tribes, wise men and known, and made them heads over you, leaders of thousands, and leaders of hundreds, and leaders of 50s, and leaders of 10, and officers for your tribes. And I commanded your judges at that time, saying, When hearing between your brothers, judge righteously between a man and his brother, or the stranger who is with them. Do not show partiality in right ruling. Hear the small as well as the great. Do not be afraid of anyone's face, for the right ruling belongs to Elohim. And the case which is too hard for you, bring it to me, and I shall hear it. And I commanded you at that time all of these words which you should do. Israel's refusal to enter the land. So, he's recounting. Then we set out from Horeb and went through all that great and awesome wilderness which you saw on the way to the mountains of the Amorites. And Yah your Elohim had commanded us, and he came to Kadesh Barnea. And I said to you, You have come to the mountain of the Amorites, which Yah your Elohim is giving us. See, Yah your Elohim has set the land before you. Go up and possess it. As Yah your Elohim of your fathers has spoken to you, do not fear nor be discouraged. And all of you came near to me and said, Let us send out men before us, and let us search out the land for us, and bring back word to us of the way which we could go up, and of the cities into which we would come. How much is this like us in real life? It's like, I want you to go do this. Ooh, that seems kind of scary. So I'm not real sure let's go ahead and, make some sort of arrangements, and instead of just trusting. And I know 40 plus years I've been in the word, and 40 plus years I've not um, I've not done those, not taken him at his word and doubted and worried and didn't obey. And the matter was good in my eyes. So I took 12 of your men and one from each tribe, and they turned and they went into the mountains and came to the Wadi Eshcol and spied it out. And they took some of the fruit of that land in their hands and brought it down to us. And they brought back word to us, saying, the land which Yah our Elohim is giving us is good, but it's one of the biggest buts in the world in the Bible. But you would not go up and rebelled against the mouth of Yah your Elohim, and grumbled in your tents and said, because Yah was because Yah was hating us, he brought us out of the land of Mitzrayim to give us into the hand of the Amorites to destroy us. Where are we going to? Our brothers have made our hearts melt, saying, the people are greater and taller than we, and the cities are great and walled up to the heavens. And we saw the sons of Anakim, they're two giants. Then I said to you, have no dread or fear of them. Yah your Elohim is going before you, who does fight for you according to all that he did for you in Mitzrayim before your eyes. And in the wilderness, where you saw how Yah your Elohim has bore you, as a man bears his son, in all the way that you went until you came to this place. Yet, in this matter, you are putting no trust in Yah your Elohim, who is going before you in the way to seek out a place for you to pitch your tents, to show you the way. Nope, you're not supposed to be on the table. Sorry. Bad kitty learning. Get off the table. Yet, who is going before you in the way to seek out a place for you to pitch your tents, to show you the way you should go, in fire by night and cloud by day. And Yah heard the voice of your words and was wroth and took an oath, saying, not one of these men of this evil generation shall see that good land in which I swore to give to your fathers, except Caleb, son of Yefunni. He shall see it, and to him and his children I will give the land on which he walked, because he followed Yah completely. Let that be a lesson to us. And Yah was enraged with me for your sake, saying, you do not go in there either. Yehoshua, son of Nun, who stands before you, he shall go in there. Strengthen him, for he shall cause Israel to inherit. And your little ones and your children who you say are for prey, who today have no knowledge of good and evil, they are going in there. And to them I give it, and they are to possess it. But you turn and take your journey into the wilderness by the way of the Sea of Reeds. And then you answered and said to me, we have sinned against Yah. We ourselves are going up, and we shall fight as Yah our Elohim commanded us. And when each one... No, stay off the table. No. Okay. And when each one of you had girded on his battle gear, you were ready to go up. No. When you answered and said to me, you were ready to go up into the mountain. And Yah said to me, say to them, do not go up nor fight, for I am not in your midst, lest you be smitten before your enemies. So I spoke to you, but you would not listen, and rebelled against the mouth of Yah, and acted proudly, and went into the mountain. Then the Amorites who dwelt in that mountain came out against you, and chased you as bees do, and drove you back from Seir to Hormah. And you returned and wept before Yah, but Yah would not listen to your voice nor give ear to you. So you dwelt in Kadesh many days, according to the days you dwelt. Then we turned and set into the wilderness, the way of the way of the reeds, and Yah spoke to me, and we went around Mount Seir many days. And Yah spoke to me, saying, You have gone around this mountain long enough, turn northward, and command the people, saying, You are about to pass over the border of your brothers, the descendants of Esau, who lived in Seir, and they are afraid of you, so be on your guard. Do not strive with them, for I do not give you any of their land. No, not so much as one footstep, because I have given Mount Seir to Esau as a possession. What food you buy from them with silver you shall eat, and also what water you buy from them with silver you shall drink. For Yah, your Elohim, has blessed you in all the work of your hand. He has known your wandering through this great wilderness these 40 years, and Yah, your Elohim, has been with you, and you have not lacked any matter. And when we passed beyond our brothers, the descendants of Esau who dwell in Seir, away from the way of the desert plain, away from Eliath and Etzion Gerber, we turned and passed over by the way of the wilderness of Moab. And Yah said to me, Do not distress Moab, nor stir yourself up against them in battle, for I do not give you any of their land as a possession, because I have given Er to the descendants of Lot as a possession. The Emites had dwelt there formerly, a people as great and numerous as tall as the Anakim. They were also reckoned as Rephaites, like the Anakim, but the Moabites call them Emites. And the Horites formerly dwelt in Seir, but the descendants of Esau dispossessed them and destroyed them from before them, and dwelt in their place, as Israel did to the land of their possession, which Yah gave them. Now, rise up and pass over the Wadi Zered. So we passed over the Wadi Zered, and the time we took to come from Kadesh Barnea until we passed over the Wadi Zered was 38 years, until all the generations of the men of battle was consumed from the midst of the camp, as Yah had sworn to them. And also the hand of Yah was against them to destroy them from the midst of the camp until they were consumed. And it came to be, when all the men of battle had finally perished from among the people, that Yah spoke to me, saying, The day you are to pass over at Ar, the boundary of this day, you are to pass over at Ar, the boundary of Moab. And when you come near the children of Ammon, do not distress them, nor stir yourself up against them, for I do not give you any of their land. I do not give you any of the land of the children of the Ammon as possession, because I have given it to the descendants of Lot as a possession. It was also reckoned that the land of the Rephaites formerly dwelt there. That was also reckoned as the land of the Rephaites. Rephaites formerly dwelt there, but the Ammonites called them Zamzumin, a people as great and numerous and tall as the Anakim. But Yah destroyed them before them, and they dispossessed them and dwelt in their place, as he had done for the descendants of Esau who dwelt in Seir. When he destroyed the Horites from before them, they dispossessed them and dwelt in their place even to this day. And Awim, who dwelt in the villages as far as Azah, the Caphtorim, who came from Caphtor, destroyed them and dwelt in their place. Arise, set out, and pass over the Wadi Arnon. See, I have given into your hand Sihon, the Amorite sovereign of Heshbon, and his land. Begin to possess it, and stir up yourself against him in battle. This day I began to put the dread and fear of you upon the peoples under all the heavens, who, when they hear the report of you, shall tremble and shake because of you, the defeat of King Sihon. Then I sent messengers from the wilderness of Kedemoth to Sihon, sovereign of Heshbon, with words of peace, saying, Let me pass over through your land on the highway. I shall go on the highway and turn neither to the right nor to the left. What food you sell me for silver I shall eat, and what water you give me for silver I shall drink. Only let me pass over on foot. As the descendants of Esau who dwell in Seir and the Moabites who dwell in Ar did for me, until I pass over Yarden to the land Yahuwah our Elohim is giving us. But Sihon, sovereign of Heshbon, would not let us pass over. For Yah, your Elohim, hardened his spirit and strengthened his heart to give into your hand, to give him into your hand as it is this day. And Yah said to me, see, I have begun to give Sihon and his land over to you, begin to possess, in order to possess his land. And Sihon and all of his people came out against us to fight at Yahatz. And Yah, your Elohim, gave him over to us, and so we struck him and his sons and all of his people. And we took all of his cities, and at that time we put the men, women, and little ones of every city under the ban. I mean, we killed them all. And we left none remaining. Only the livestock we took as plunder for ourselves, and the spoil of the cities which we captured from Aror, which is on the edge of the Wadi Arnon, and the city that is by the Wadi, as far as Gilead. There was not one city too high for us. Yah, your Elohim, gave all to us. Only you did not go near the land. Only you did not go near the land of the children of Ammon, anywhere along the Wadi Yabak, or to the cities of the mountains, or anywhere as Yah, your Elohim, commanded us. Okay. Then we turned and went up the way to Bashan. And Og, sovereign of Bashan, came out against us, and he and all of his people to battle at Edrei. And Yah said to me, do not fear him, for I have given him and all of his people and his land into your hand, and you shall do to them as you did to Sihon, sovereign of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon. So Yah, our Elohim, also gave into our hands Og, sovereign of Bashan, with all of his peoples, and we struck him until he had no survivors remaining. And we captured all of his cities at that time. There was not a city which we did not take from them. 60 cities, all the districts of Argob, the reign of Og in Bashan. All of these cities were fenced with high walls, gates, and bars, besides a great many unwalled towns. And we put them under the ban, as we did to Sihon, sovereign of Heshbon, putting the men and the women and the children of every city under the ban. But all the livestock and the spoil of the cities we took as booty for ourselves. And at that time we took the land from the hand of the two sovereigns of the Amorites that was beyond the Jordan, from the Wadi Arnon to Mount Hermon. Tisodians called Hermon Sirion, and the Amorites call it Sinir. All the cities of the plain, all Gilead and all Bashan, as far as Salcah and Edrei, cities of the reign of Og in Bashan, for only Og, sovereign of Bashan, was left of the remnant of the Rephaites. See, his bedstead was an iron bedstead. It is not in Rabbath. Is it not in Rabbath of the children of Ammon? 9 cubits is its length, and 4 cubits its width, according to the cubit of a man. Second here. I think a cubit's like 18 inches. My Bible has the measurements, which is super cool. So it is a cubit. So measurements. Cubit, 17 to 19 inches. Okay. So you take 7 to 19 inches. So we'll go in half, 18 inches. 18 times. You're not supposed to be. She doesn't mind well, cats. So 18 times, and what does it say? Iron bedstone is rather 9 cubits times 9. So 18 times 9. 162 inches. So then divided by 12, right? I'm doing that right? No. Me and math, we're not friends. You get the idea. Go 18 times 9. Yeah, 18 inches times 9. That's 162. And then divide it by 12 inches. And it's 13 and a half feet. 13 and a half feet. So, and this land which we possess at that time from Arar, which is by the Wadi Arnon, and half the mountains of Gilead and its cities, I gave to the Reubenites and the Gadites. And the rest of Gilead and all of Bashan in the reign of Og, I gave to the half tribe of Manasseh. All the districts of Argob, you can probably hear my cat. Sorry. With all Bashan called the lands of the Rephites. Yer, son of Manasseh, had taken all the districts of Argob as far as the border of the Gershites, the Geshurites, and the Maacathites, and called them after his own name, the Bashan of Hawath Yair to this day. And to Machir I gave Gilead, and to the Reubenites and the Gadites I gave from Gilead as far as the Wadi Arnon, the middle of the Wadi as the border, as far as the Wadi Yabak, the borders of the children of Ammon, and the desert plain with the Yarden as the border of Kinnereth, as far as the sea of Arba, the salt sea, below the slopes of Pisgah on the east. The Sea of Arba, that I've been learning is some things about that might have been where the Israelites crossed over, I think. Oh, stinker, get off the table. Bad kitty. Bad kitty. Need to get a water bottle, quart bottle. Water. I've been told that works, and I think we're at that place because she just keeps doing it. Okay. And I commanded you at that time, saying, Yah your Elohim has given you this land to possess. All you sons of might pass over, armed before your brothers, the children of Israel. But let your wives and your little ones and your livestock, I know that you have much livestock, stay in their cities, which I have given you. And until Yah has given rest to your brothers as to you, and they also possess the land which Yah your Elohim is giving them beyond the Yarden. Then you shall return each man to his possession, which I have given you. And I commanded Yehoshua at that time, saying, your eyes have seen all that Yah your Elohim has done to these two sovereigns. Yah does the same to all the reigns which you are passing over. Do not fear them, for Yah your Elohim himself fights for you. So that's the end of the Torah portion. Now we're going to go to Isaiah 1 through 27. The vision of Yeshayahu, Isaiah, son of Amoz, which we saw concerning Yehuda and Jerusalem, Judah and Jerusalem, in the days of Uzziyahu, Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah, sovereigns of Yehuda, the wickedness of Judah. Hear, O heavens, and listen, O earth, for Yah has spoken. I have reared and brought up children, but they have transgressed against me. An ox knows its owner, and a donkey its master's crib. Israel does not know. My people have not understood. Alas, sinning nation, a people loaded with crookedness, a seed of evildoers, sons acting corruptly. They have forsaken Yah, and they have provoked the set apart one of Israel. They went backward. Why should you be stricken anymore? You continue in apostasy. All the head is sick, and all the heart faints. Sorry, I need to check my cameras. My dog is We have work going on our driveway, and we have a lot of trucks coming up and down our driveway, and my dog is barking, but I don't see what she's barking at. She's barking at, don't be there, baby. What are you doing? Unless there's somebody up there. Barking at the wind. Sorry. Why should you be stricken anymore? You continue in apostasy. All of the head is sick, and all of the heart faints. From the sole of the foot to the head, there is no soundness in it. Wounds and bruises and open sores. They have not been closed or bound up or soothed with ointment. Your land is laid waste. Your cities are burned with fire. Strangers devour your land in your presence, and it is laid waste as overthrown by strangers. And the daughters of Sion is left as a booth in a vineyard, as a hut in the garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. Go to 27. Okay. Unless Yah of hosts had left to us a small remnant, we would have become like Sodom. We would have been made like Sodom and Gomorrah. Hear the words of Yah, you rulers of Sedom. Every ear to the Torah of our Elohim, you people of Amorah. Word and Torah, teaching, are used synonymous. Torah, teaching, instructions. Or what use to me are your many slaughterings, declares Yah. I have enough of ascending offerings of rams and the fat of fed beasts. I do not delight in the blood of bulls or the lamb or goats. When you come appear before me, who has required this from your hand to trample my courtyards? Stop bringing futile offerings, incense. It is an abomination to me. New moon, Sabbath, the calling of gatherings. I am unable to bear your unrighteousness and assembly. So it sounds like they're going through with all of their traditions, but their heart is far from him, and they're not practicing in heart. They're just practicing in deed. My being hates your new moons. Now, the Father does not hate the new moons. He hated how they were celebrating the new moon because they were doing it in the flesh and not in the spirit. My being hates your new moons and your appointed times. They are a trouble to me. I am weary of bearing them. A lot of Christian churches use this right here as he hates what the Jews do. Um, and so that therefore we're no longer under these. So we should go and practice pagan holidays like Christmas and Easter instead. That makes no sense. He's talking to the unfaithful Jews currently. And when you spread out your hands, I hide my eyes from you. Even though you make many prayers, I do not hear. Your hands have become filled with blood. Wash yourselves and make yourself clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes and stop doing evil. Learn to do good, seek right ruling, reprove the oppressor, defend the fatherless, plead for the widows. Come now and let us reason together, says Yah. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they shall be as wool. If you submit and obey, Shema, hear and obey, you shall eat the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you shall be devoured by the sword. For the mouth of Yah has spoken. How the steadfast city has become a whore. I have filled it with right ruling, righteousness lodged in it, but now murderers. Your silver has become dross, your wine is mixed with water. Your rulers are stubborn and companions of thieves. Everyone loves bribes. That sounds like our modern American rulers. Everyone loves bribes and runs after rewards. They do not defend the fatherless and do not cause the widow to reach them. Therefore, the Master declares, Yah of hosts, the mighty one of Israel, I shall be eased of my adversaries, and I shall be avenged of my enemies, and I shall turn my hand against you, and shall refine your dross with lye, and shall remove all of your alloy. Purging time, purifying time, and I shall give back your judges as at first, and your counselors as at the beginning. After this, you shall be called the city of righteousness, a steadfast city. Zion shall be ransomed with right ruling, and her returning ones with righteousness. And then the Haftarah, you make sure I've got the right one because my writing's not great. Come on. So Matthew 24, 1 through 22. Okay, great. So Matthew 24, 1 through 22. Yeshua foretells destruction of the temple. And going out, Yeshua went away from the set apart place, and his taught ones came near to point out to him, no, sorry, all which shall be, point out to him the buildings of the set apart place. Ah, such a bad kitty. Get off there. Get off there. Get off there. Get off there. Oh. Stay off the table. Bad kitty. And Yeshua said to them, do you not see all these? Truly, I say to you that not one stone shall be left here upon another at all, which shall not be thrown down. And he sat on the Mount of Olives. The taught ones came to him separately, saying, say to us, when shall this be? And what shall be the sign of your coming at the end of the age? And Yeshua answered, said to them, take heed that no one leads you astray. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and they shall lead many astray. And you shall begin to hear of fightings and reports of fightings, wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for these have to take place, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, kind of happening now, and reign against reign, and there shall be scarcities of food and deadly diseases and earthquakes in places. And all of these are the beginnings of birth pains. The Father had, I'd gotten some teachings over this last week, and several of them from different sources, and they all are talking about that we are entering into the birth pains. The birth pains have begun. The water has broken. The birth pains have begun. I personally believe this. We're seeing all of it. So it'll be interesting to see how be ready. Do what you need to get ready. Get prepared. Physically, mentally, mostly spiritually. Get in the Word. Be in the Word. Be in the Word. Be in the Word. Because this is the only thing that's going to keep us being in the Word and in covenant, walking in covenant with Him, seeking Him in all of our ways, and all that we do is the only thing that's going to get us through this. And He's been speaking to me that hard times are coming, very hard times are coming, very difficult times are coming, and that we need to learn to endure, to deny ourselves, maybe stop. One of the things he's kind of working with me is, learn to deny and not be always satisfying my flesh and comforting my flesh. Learn to endure hardship. Take that with, take it to prayer. Anyway, so, okay. And all these are the beginning of birth pains. Then they shall deliver you up to affliction and kill you. Are we ready for that? We need to prepare. And you shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many shall stumble, and they shall deliver up one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall arise up and lead many astray. And because of the increase of lawlessness, isn't that what we're seeing? The love of many shall grow cold. We're definitely seeing that. But he shall, and this, I haven't read this, so this is like, oh, Father, you just keep bringing it in, man. You just keep bringing it in. Um, Last week, the week before, was going through some really hard emotional, and then it became physical. Went to help move my father and pack up his belongings, and then clean his townhome for him to move to North Carolina with his sister. And it was hard. There was a lot of, it was physically hard for me because it's more activity than I have done in 8 years since I got sick. Um, and it really set me back physically. But it was also hard emotionally because I didn't meet my father until I was 38 years old, and I found him through an internet search. Um, I was never given any clear story on my father. Um, just that, and I didn't even know until I was 14 that the man who had adopted me at 3 months old when my mom married him wasn't my true biological father, my brother's father. I didn't know that he wasn't my biological father until I found a picture of my mom in her wedding dress holding me as a baby. And I was like, well, why'd she put on her wedding dress to take a picture of me and my girlfriend? Because we were going through the photo album. My girlfriend's like, she didn't. I was like, oh my gosh. And so when I approached my mom, it was very hard for her and very ugly. And unfortunately, this is where I really kind of took a turn for the South and started really getting into trouble with drugs and bad living, um, because I felt betrayed. My entire family betrayed me my entire life by making me believe this lie. And nobody ever told me about my real biological father. So I didn't have any details on him until I was older. And interestingly enough, I did a search for him, US search, when the internet first started coming out, US people search or something like that. And I wasn't able to find him. That's when I was 36. And then, and to this day, this is just a miracle. I honestly have no explanation. It's just a miracle. You have your file with your important papers in it. And one day I was going through and I found an envelope that I had never put there. My husband had never put there. And in it, it had my original birth certificate with his full name and occupation and everything on it, and my original baptismal. I was baptized into the Catholic Church when I was an infant. Um, so I had the information I needed now to go and find him with his middle name and his occupation. He went into the Navy right after I was conceived. And so, anyway, there's a lot of stuff that comes along with that. I met him. Um, he's very accomplished. He has a degree in engineering, and then he turned around and got a degree as a lawyer in law, and he was a lawyer as his profession. Um, but in meeting him at 38, I never got to know him as a daddy, and so I was really kind of grieving. It's still kind of painful. Um, but yeah, but yeah. But Yah came in and Yah showed me how He is my daddy. He is my Abba. He is my tender, comforting Father. So, anyway, it brought up a lot, and it brought up a lot emotionally, physically, kind of really put me down for the past couple of weeks dealing with it all. But what the Father showed me, what Yah showed me is, and I'm like, because I'm like laying out before Him, and I'm like, this is painful, this hurts. And physically, mentally, emotionally, this hurts. And I'm sad. And He's like, I'm teaching you to endure because, you know, you're going to be, you shall be delivered up to affliction. And they're going to deliver you up to affliction and kill you. And you'll be hated. And I'm teaching you to endure. And one of the scriptures that has stuck in my brain since I first got saved back in 1980, when I was 18 years old and started reading the King James Bible from the beginning, because I wanted to read it all, was he who endures to the end shall be saved. And here it is, right here. But he who shall have endured till the end shall be saved. So this is something that the Father really has, this past couple of weeks, has really been really driving home for me, is that there's a lot of us going through some really hard, painful things right now. He's blessing us by giving us the opportunity to learn how to endure, and how to endure well. Because originally, when I started having to go through this endure and pain, I went to criticism and complaining and murmuring, just like the children of Israel out in the desert. Why are we having to eat this manna? And I'm hungry and I'm thirsty and blah, blah, and I want meat, and complain, complain, complain. Lashon hara, evil speak. And then I ended up getting physically put down. And it was like, I brought this curse upon myself by what came out of my mouth. When you bring our thoughts captive, even if it's true, we don't need to speak it. We need to speak the truth. I have a father, an Abba, a daddy who loves me. And whatever physical family I have is the one he ordained for me to have. He ordained for me to be a product of, you know, there's more details. I'm not going to share it right now. But yeah, he allowed my circumstances for such a time as this. So he's teaching us, it's a blessing that he's teaching us to endure. Remember this as you're having to endure hard times, hard things, hard pressing. It's a blessing. He's teaching us how to endure, and endure well, by speaking his truth, his reality, and letting it overcome the world's truth and the world's reality. So, and this is good news of the reign shall be proclaimed in all the world as a witness to all the nations, and then the end shall come. So when you see the abomination that lays waste, we were talking about the third temple being built, the Jews are looking forward to it because they think that it's all going to, and then their Messiah is going to come. But, what my beliefs are, and this is what it says here, is, when the abomination lays waste. Now, there's a bunch of different beliefs out there. Don't take my word for it. Go study for yourself. Research it and study for yourself. But anyway, so when the abomination of that lays waste in Daniel 11:31, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, set up in the set apart place in the third temple, he who reads, let him understand. See also Daniel 9:27 and the abomination lays waste in explanatory notes. Then let those who in Judah, flee to the mountains, and let him who is on the housetops not come down and take whatever he has out of his house. And let him who is in the field not turn back and get his garments. And woe to those who are pregnant and those who are nursing children in those days. And pray that your flight does not take place in the winter or on the Sabbath. For there shall be great distress, such as not been seen since the beginning of the world until this time, no, nor ever shall be. Footnote, or great pressure or great affliction. See, affliction is coming, beloved. Pray that he teaches you to endure well. If those days were not shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the sake of the chosen ones, those days shall be shortened. So, Matthew 22. That's it. Okay. So, thank you for coming along with me on this. There we go. Stop sharing. There. Thank you for coming along with me today for this Torah portion reading. If you're new to my channel, I also do books of the Bible reading. You'll find that in my books of the Bible playlist. I've got Genesis is already done, and then I'm just started in Exodus. I also do a new moon playlist. I just started that this week for the new moon of Av that starts at sundown tonight. And we'll celebrate by blowing the shofar and having a feast. And then I also do one called the Story Seat. That is, I showcase women and their stories. I started out sharing women with their businesses, but my heart is to share women's stories to help encourage other women. So if you have a great story, a great testimony, or you have a business that you want to share, then let me know and I can highlight you, showcase you on the Story Seat Women Worth Hearing playlist. So be blessed. Y'all send this out to whoever you want to hear it and bless them in their hearing of your word. In Yeshua's mighty name. Amen. Be blessed.